Sunday, the CEO of Frontier Airlines is going undercover.
We only have 7 minutes to get this plane out.
Oh, no!
Come on, Richard!
I'm coming.
Hello, I'm Eric Schurenberg, Editor-in-Chief of BNET.com. Now, by now, Bryan Bedford is a household name. The airline industry already knows him as Chairman, President, and CEO of Republic Airways, the holding company for Frontier Airlines, the nation's second largest regional airline. But now the whole world knows him as the third undercover boss of the 2010 season. Welcome, Bryan. Thanks for appearing on BNET.
Thank you, Eric.
Full disclosure, BNET is owned by CBS, which also produces Undercover Boss. On Sunday night, you traded your corner office to work as an aircraft appearance agent, a flight attendant, a lavatory driver, among other jobs. Which was the toughest job you had to do?
I have to tell you, the aircraft appearance agent was probably the most difficult. And obviously it was a very up-tempo job. A lot of things had to be accomplished in a very, very short period of time. It was, quite frankly, it was something I was very curious to see how well we were doing, because I'm very picky about clean airplanes. So being out there and actually having to clean the aircraft and bending and stretching, and wow, it was tough.
You have an MBA and you've made a number of strategic moves with your company in the past. You've surely seen efficiency studies about how important it is to spend as little time as possible between flights. How's the practice of turning a plane around quickly different from the theory?
Well, it's a great question, Eric, because not only is the aircraft getting groomed in 7 minutes as part of roughly a 20-minute on-the-ground process, we're also catering the aircraft. We're removing the human waste from the aircraft. There are a lot of things that are going on in a very compressed period of time. So you really have to make sure that the sort of the engineering process of the work does flow well, that the different crews that are doing catering, that are doing cleaning, that are doing the lab servicing are coordinated. So yeah, there are a lot of logistics that I think we just take for granted happens until you're actually out there and someone's running a catering cart in your leg because you're bent over, you know, picking trash up off the floor. So yeah, it was a great learning experience for me.
You came away from your experience wanting to make some changes to how Frontier does things. Can you tell me about some of those changes?
Well, the biggest change that we absolutely had to make was we had to figure out better ways to not only communicate with our employees, sharing that vision, but also listening. If there was one thing that I heard over and over again is employees that had great ideas and suggestions that they wanted to make, and when you asked them as a coworker, well, so why don't you just tell somebody? And they said, well, you know, I talked to so-and-so, but nothing ever happens. Nothing ever changes. They don't care. They just want me to shut up and do my job. And that's not what we want. I mean, we want the people that are on the front lines, that are doing the work. We want to learn from them, and we have to open our ears if we're going to learn.
Was that the most sobering thing you heard, would you say?
Well, if you're familiar with the show, and you've seen the show now, so you know that every employee has a story. So probably the most sobering things that really affected me as a boss were stop thinking about our employees as, you know, numbers on a spreadsheet, as head count. You know, these are people with families, and they have struggles, and this economy's got problems, and many of the jobs that we offer, the folks that do them initially got into this work because it was a nice second job, or, you know, a second wage for the family, travel benefits, insurance, and things of that nature. Well, over the course of the last 2 years, they're now the single earner in the family, and that really has raised the stress level for folks, both in our business and I'm sure in businesses all over the country.
Who decided which line workers you would work with, and what was the cover story to explain why this new strange employee was being followed by a camera crew?
Well, believe me, I was very curious to see how the undercover team was going to slip me into the operation. They actually came up with a great ruse, and you see a little bit of that on the program, where there are other guys who are competing for a job. I happen to be one of a couple different folks, so the cameras weren't solely on me. They're following a couple of different folks around, and I think that gave me the anonymity that I was looking for.
There is a certain rhythm to Undercover Boss. There's the employees with their life story, and there's the tough job that the CEO has to do. Did you ever feel when you were making the episode that any of it was staged?
Well, I didn't feel like there was anything in the program that was staged, but I have to tell you, I knew very little about what was going on as it was happening. And in fact, other than working through airport security, where some folks from our company had to be involved, the company literally didn't know where we were going from day to day, or who I would be. I had no idea who I'd be working with, or frankly, what kind of work I would be doing. So it was very on the fly from my perspective.
This experience changed your mind about your employees and how hard they work and what their life is like. Do you think it changed your employees' minds about you?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm not sure. In talking to them, what their perception of the boss is, I got to tell you, it's very strange when you're having a conversation with somebody and they go, well, you know, our CEO, Bryan Bedford, says, and when you hear them talking about you, to you, as if you're a stranger, that was a very awkward experience. But what I took back is, it's one thing to tell people, hey, I really respect my employees, that I think they do a great job, and I do. But when you're out there actually in the field, working with them, you know, walking a mile in their shoes, it just brings a whole nother level of respect to all the jobs that it takes to actually run an airline day to day.
Would you recommend that every manager go through something like this?
Well, I can tell you at our company, one of the changes that we made as an outgrowth of this is we are getting all of our officers out into the field. Now, they won't be able to go out there undercover necessarily, but we can, you know, move them into different departments with the organization where they certainly won't be known, and they'll get an opportunity to do work and see, you know, are we in fact walking the talk? I mean, every company has a vision and a mission and value statements that they share with their employees, but if they're just words on a paper, they're meaningless. I mean, are we really living our values in the eyes of our employees? That's the ultimate test.
Bryan, thank you. Thank you for joining us on BNET.
Thanks, Eric.
And be sure to watch this Sunday's Undercover Boss, where an executive from NASCAR gets under the hood. And be sure to join us next Friday for a preview right here on BNET.com.